left to go. But we have not seen what Lifecoach and Zalae have brought to the table here. Lifecoach is one of the few players not bringing in Shaman, but I'm not surprised about that. I think he's not even been bothered to play this like aggro Shaman. Aggro Shaman, as far as Lifecoach is concerned, is a class the opponents play. He's the one to play the warrior, the priest, the druid. Maybe there's some surprise that he didn't try handlock in this format. We have seen Lifecoach participate in a lot of like weird format tournaments, and he seems to always try to make handlock work as well. So I think with that, there's probably a decent amount of confidence in those classes. And Zalae, of course, is running a bit more of the standard classes, and I would imagine the standard lists.
Yeah, it makes sense that Life Coach has a very similar lineup to what Ardu and Tice have, with Priest, Warrior, and the Druid. I think that's actually the exact same three, meaning that they also possibly could just be running the same 90 cards
Yeah,
across the board.
yeah.
I know
We
Life
talked
Coach is a big fan of Fierce Monkey as well, so that is another case for why it's probably the same.
Yeah, we talked about how whenever there's a tournament with like an alternate rule set and there's like money involved and there's like, you can't prepare as much for this as you can for something else. And with regular play, just knowing your own deck, doing all that stuff, that's not really enough. You have to then see what your opponents are probably bringing. You have to put in like tech cards. There's a ton of work that is involved in bringing, the absolute best decks to any given tournament, and that challenge is, heightened to a ridiculous level in this type of format that people really haven't practiced. They haven't played against like a mass audience. So even though it seems like there's a bit of similarities between team members, we can definitely see that as a strength. And I mean, Tice did qualify with it, I believe. Did he
Yep, and
not
Ardu won his
move on
first
through history?
match
Yeah,
against
yeah.
Firebat,
So
so
don't mess with success.
a winning formula. I mean, and it's scary because if they keep winning, it's like, they're onto something. They went to the next level of, yeah, we know Druid and Shaman are very popular. Let's just
Hmm.
pull out these dragon decks and try to take advantage of it. Meanwhile, Zalae is going to be bringing the Rogue as the third weapon of choice. And once again, Rogue, I actually want to see if Rogue's even more popular than Shaman. I don't think so, but it feels like
No, I
it's
don't think
a
so.
strong case for number three, right?
Um, on the first day, every person except Dice brought Shaman. On the second day, it looks like RDU, Life Coach, and Colento did not bring Shaman. So everyone at the tournament except all the G2 team players and Colento brought Shaman. And for Rogue, it's slightly less than half the field. On the first day, it was Amnesiac, Strife Crow, and Orange with Rogue. And today, I believe it's 4 Rogue players.
Yeah, it's just recency bias of seeing Rogue a lot, so it makes you feel like you've seen it a ton. So not even close. But one thing that we have been seeing is variation among the Rogue decks. Zalae, he really likes combo decks in general.
Hmm.
Patron was a big thing, but even before Patron was popular from Blackrock Mountain, Zalae made his first breakout performances in the ESL Legendary Series, and he was playing the OTK Combo Warlock back then,
Yeah,
and brought that to the tournament. So
that was
he's
actually a
just,
really fun deck. I played a
yeah,
lot of that. That was the Arcane Golem, Power Overwhelm, Faceless deck.
still kind of exists to this day in a different form. Some people choose Rena Warlock setups. Some people just
Hmm.
choose normal setups, but you have Emperor Thorson as its main engine generator. He was playing that before Emperor Thorson came out, so you can see Zalae is pretty committed to killing his opponents in a very fun and interactive way.
Wait a second. That doesn't sound very fun to interact.
Well, I'm not sure if he also varied his shaman or druid lists. I know Zalae also likes to just be pretty aggressive to stuff.
Hmm.
So
But now that we're actually talking about this, like it feels like that deck would work pretty well in this tournament. I mean, that's basically Druid. You're looking for combo pieces, you're drawing more cards, and you have a variety of answers to stall the game. That's I'm actually surprised. I mean, now that we're starting to talk about some of these other decks, It feels like there's much more to it than what we've seen the players bring so far.
Well, maybe you lose too much in the exchange. Dark Bomb, for example, is gone.
Mm.
Implosion is a board mechanism. But you know what? Not off the top of my head. I mean, I can look it up if we need more time. Because right now we're just waiting for the players to get set up.
Well, we do know that the losers bracket was actually won by Firebat. Firebat defeated Kalenta 3-2. And these matches are not streamed. The losers bracket is not streamed just for the effect of time. But we will be
I get
seeing a
why.
little bit more, not Hunter, but Aggro Pally, I guess, will continue to be present in the tournament.
We'll see him back. We'll see him back. It'll be cool to see if he can make a comeback with that really interesting lineup. The biggest culprit and something that we could have easily forgotten, we said it 500 times, was that with these kinds of stall decks with OTK, you really need things like Healbot in that Warlock deck. And you don't have Belcher. You also don't have Chows to stop the early game pressure. So you lose a lot of early game defense tools. So that's probably the biggest reason why you don't see Handlock from Lifecoach or some of these combo locks or even Reno Warlock to a large extent.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There's a little bit of a void there, but the combo is still there. You still have the super unfair 24 damage combo or the 36 damage combo with an Emperor tick on every card. That's pretty fun when it happens.
Yeah, there's not many like one-to-one replacements with those cards either. It's like you play like what's another one mana defensive card? The Jouster, the Gadgetzan Jouster, is that what it's called?
Yeah, or the Squire. Squire has been pretty popular.
And then you have to play like Priestess of Elune for heal. It's like that's just so bad. Like Fen Creeper instead of Belcher. It's like no, these are like the worst replacements. I mean, Fen Creeper wasn't too bad when there was a lot of 5 attacks like removal stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just not ideal because you definitely want the superior versions of it.
Well, you can do Shadow Flame on. Let me see if I get this right. Eerie Statue.
Oh, Ancient Watch. I mean, what if you went back all the way to just like the old Handlock days before? I mean, that is a certain possibility, but like there was such a big void that's left by the antique Healbot, as you mentioned, which is so funny because again, it wasn't a very impressive card when everyone's like, why do we need to heal for 8? But like, this body
heals are all insane because there's so few and they're all suck.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the healing wave. Maybe that ended up being just like a bunch of hype and not too much because it's flashy. Heal 14. Where Raynad one time said to me, if it healed for 30, he still wouldn't consider playing it if it won the joust. Like it have to heal 14 as a base, and then like heal 30 if it won the joust. That was the conditions for Raynad playing that card. That's what he told me.
It didn't turn out all that bad. I think the main weakness in Shaman is just the inconsistency in the early game against a field of very consistent early game decks. And that's just the source of a lot of problems for some of these more controlling decks that especially try to rely on heals. The reason heals work in Warlock is because Warlocks have tools to clear the board constantly and effectively without overloading their whole turn the next turn or anything like that. So I mean, I think that's the main issue. Heals by themselves are not good enough. You have to pair them with tools to start winning and coming back in the game.
Yeah. Which is interesting, right? Because they did get some tools, the Tunnel Trog, Totem Golems, and there's just a little bit more options every single expansion or adventure for early game stuff. And yet, that means Shaman took that and decided to go face with it. So maybe Super JJ is onto something that we don't know. But for now, I'm just going to lean to the camp that Zalae's playing an Aggro Shaman. Looks like we're about to start pretty soon. Just getting Lifecoach's cam set up here, which is probably the most important thing for the series because that's like 90% of the reason we love watching Lifecoach play. 10% because he makes these really awesome plays and decks, but the 90% is because of the reactions. They're priceless.
All right. Well, as far as the tournament structure is going to go, we will have after this match the winners bracket matches I believe that will mean we will see RDU versus Saviz, and that will be followed by Ostkaka versus the winner here. And then we will go to the decider matches. So the loser of those two matches will face the winners of the losers brackets. And Firebat has qualified for that match by beating Colento in the off-stream losers bracket match.
Yep, and ultimately they're playing for 30K, 12,500 for first place. So
all right, here we go.
Pretty nice purse to be won.
Druid versus Rogue. We see the Assassin's Blade. One thing that I actually haven't seen today at all is Big Game Hunter. We saw it in like quite a few of the decks yesterday, but like zero today. It seems that somehow a few of these tech choices have been quite polarized on the different play sessions.
Which works pretty conveniently for G2 because it seems that they put Ragnaros in their Druid decks across the board. So if they don't play if they expected people to stop playing Big Game Hunter because Dr. Boom was around, then that gives them more reason to put another target that they feel is good, but can't get Big Game Hunter. So that's a really interesting dynamic of going to the next level for G2.
Living Roots here, while this card works so well for stopping the aggressive decks, it works quite poorly at doing anything against the combo Rogue.
Yeah, Rogue's hero power alone can deal with it for the low price of 3 health, so...
5 health, I believe, or 6 health. It's gonna... Well, the Rogue chose not to coin, right?
Yeah.
There's gonna be 2 and then attack.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It's 5 health. Yeah.
I was talking about strictly in a vacuum, assuming he could attack it immediately, but yeah. So, in this scenario, he still has some options with the backstab SI, but things aren't very clean.
I think there's a case to be had for the backstab SI. There's also a case to be had for the perhaps the deadly poison, and then backstab SI on the 1/1s next turn.
Yeah, that actually might not be too bad because it's more clean. And you set up the weapon preemptively for inevitable 4 mana play. So maybe you have an opportunity to kill off like a savage combatant and then not have to use the weapon charge. I think that's pretty reasonable as well. You have a Tomb Pillager too to even get back the coin for inevitable use.
He's definitely thinking it out. The options are very close.
We'll see. I mean, this is not Lifecoach's turn who's roping, it's Zalae. And he's come up with some interesting choices. He's choosing to backstab SI though. And that's okay too because it's also the most minion presence available so that these Living Roots can't continue just to sneak in more and more damage.
Well, they will continue to sneak more and more damage because I believe we're going to see a Druid of the Claw here.
Yeah, I mean, you can't always predict the Innervate Druid of the Claw, but it's something in the back of your mind that you're really afraid of. I mean, I just really don't feel like Druid misses the Shade of Naxxramas at all. I mean, some lists have flat out replaced it altogether in the normal meta game, but even here, that's like that and the Pilot Shredder are the 2 cards that are limited.
Yeah, the Shade I think is just a non-issue, and the Savage Combatant in a few cases is better than the Shredder. So honestly, it really feels like we're seeing Druid, which I mean, arguably, but somewhat there's a consensus on the typical mid-range Druid deck being like top 2 or top 3 decks in ladder right now. And then, we see basically the full list here in tournament where everyone else has to abide by the rules. So without much of a surprise, we see Druid dominating and being played by nearly every player.
Lifecoach taking some time to evaluate if he wanted to Wild Growth versus take the tempo now. And against Rogue, I'm always in favor of taking the tempo, especially when they use coin. So they have less ways to activate some kind of easy, convenient removal like Eviscerate. You can kill the Druid of the Claw. You just have to equip the Deadly Poison and take it. And I'd be okay with that. You end up trading 2 cards for 2 cards, paving way for your Tomb Pillager.
That's the best Living Roots ever.
It is. It's done 6
damage. It's gonna be like
damage.
an 8th damage or something by the end.
Probably. It's just like it's kind of like 1 mana deal 8 or 10 damage. That sounds so absurd on paper. That's what's happening.
Well, it's 6 guaranteed. We'll have to see if it goes beyond that.
It feels guaranteed for 8 because of the Tomb Pillager play. So then, yeah, there is that remote possibility though that some Fan of Knives get picked up, and that might be the choice instead. But when your opponent wild growths, you have that opportunity to finally seize the board a little bit proactively, because wild growth doesn't do anything for immediate tempo. It just gives you more crystals in the future.
And it's probably not going to be meaningful next turn either. Probably the first turn that it will be meaningful is on 7 mana.
All right, so does Zalae pick anything else that's going to discourage him from playing the Tomb Pillager?
Oh, he can shiv and eviscerate the 1/1s.
Yeah, or attack and redagger, set up for something else. But I think the Tomb Pillager just opens up much more possibilities. It's almost, somewhat answering wild growth to a certain extent. Oh wow. I wasn't anticipating that attack, Crip. What do you think about that?
No, he's sick of those 1/1s bullying him around.
Yeah, so I guess he doesn't want to do 10 damage. It's going to do 8.
And it really goes to show how getting on the board early is so ridiculously important in Hearthstone.
Yeah, or even specifically for Druid too, because Druid used to always pass turn 1, except for Innervate or Coin play. Never really having 1 mana plays. And Living Roots has definitely overtaken Darnassus Aspirant as the most valuable card for that class. Definitely not in the beginning, but nowadays when TGT is looked in the past, they look at Living Roots as being one of the best cards. It's so flexible.
There are a few plays here. While the trade looks pretty bad, it's usually a case where you'd want to eviscerate. If you trade, it makes your curve a little bit smoother.
What about Shiv eviscerate? Just for
I feel like I feel like if you just trade, play the Violet Teacher, and then either dagger or eviscerate with the coin, it's maybe a little bit more threatening.
Yeah, that could also be a good point too. You keep spells also for Violet Teacher to gain you tempo, but I mean you keep the 5/4 on board, and now you're starting to pressure a little bit. Ooh, Lifecoach whiffs on any minions, all spells. So,
well, those 1/1s have dealt a lot of damage so far. Just need a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess so. You have Savage Roar, so you can swipe, play Living Roots, Hero Power even, or I think you want to hold on to this Wild Growth. Sure, you go to 9 mana the following turn, but you have no guarantee of Savage Roar, Force of Nature.
Yeah, and these cards are so low value that you probably will need that draw 3 turns from now. More so than a Mana Crystal, at least.
Right.
Of course, Lifecoach will think about the next 6 turns in the game while making this decision, though. So have to wait a little bit here.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where he just has a general rule sometimes of like, unless it is 1 card in your hand, you have 10 mana, and it's like you're top decking, and you have to play it. You want to start your turn when the rope starts appearing, because it just gives you more time to settle into your real estate and understand what you need to do. But it's very linear from this point forward.
All right. Well, we have the Azure Drake.
Yeah, we also have Teacher as an available thing, because you can actually get value off the coin as a 1/1 and then SI7 as well. Both viable plays. Unfortunately, just 1 mana short from like clearing the board, which I don't know how much you'd actually want to go in on clearing the board. Even if you had like 8 mana, I don't think you want to use Flurry, for example.
He is actually dead to double Savage Roar.
Yeah, if you didn't do anything to those 1/1s, right?
This guy's toast.
It's pretty funny how that works. But Lifecoach is still short, needs a minion. Oh! The
The
worst.
Innervate Wild Growth does not work, by the way. It does work if Wild Growth costs 0 mana after being Emperor, I believe.
Wait,
There's
what?
like, yeah. If Wild Growth costs, I think 1 or 0 mana, you can Innervate it out.
Is that a bug?
Yeah, it seems weird enough that it probably is.
Because that's inconsistent with innervating it now and wild growthing. Because we've all
Yeah.
been there. Where we're like, oh yeah, I'll be really clever, try to innervate so I can be like at 10 mana, but it's 10 crystals.
Mm-hmm.
What to do?
Well, I don't really foresee a way for you to get out of this. I think you just have to hope that you draw Force of Nature Saboteur the following turn, and you'll just be left top deck. And the good news is that you have 27 health. It's unlikely that Rogue is going to kill you the next turn.
Yeah.
But in 2 turns, you never know.
I don't even think it's worth killing the 1/1, honestly. I think you just go face here.
Yeah, because if they have Farseer, which is likely,
Yeah,
like
you need
sometime in
those
the
last
next
few
couple
points.
draws. Yeah, you need every single point of damage because you have 15 from the hand. Azure Drake. Oh, that's interesting. That's a lot of damage to push out too. Following turn.
And the interesting thing is Zalae probably thinks he's dead. I'm like, oh man, combo again, turn 9. God, this deck. It's always that relief that you feel when it doesn't happen. But hey, it might happen. I mean, there's probably in the order of about 17 cards in Lifecoach's deck. 19.
19.
All right.
Looking
so,
for 2 of them.
Yeah. So we're looking at like 10, 11% chance there.
Maybe a little bit more. Let's say he has 2 turns to do it because he's not going to die. Is he going to die to the bottom of the turn? He's at 21.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think it's very likely that he's going to die next turn. Because he takes 10 from that. He takes 11 from that blade.
Yep, you're right. So this has to hit a minion.
I also think you innervate a hero power. Yeah, definitely innervate.
I'm trying to think of any application of holding on to innervate, but you could be right.
Well, you could hold on to innervate if you want to try to draw Force of Nature off the wild growth next turn. Okay, he's choosing to do that.
Oh my god, the face!
Ragnaros hitting face when you needed to kill a minion, killing a minion when you needed to hit face.
Oh man, and Lifecoach has been stoic the entire time, and he is pretty frustrated, rubbing his hair, looking all dapper and composed the entire way through. But
this is lethal. It's just I think he sees it. Yeah, that's
just
good.
triple checking, quadruple checking. It's very embarrassing because it costs all your mana. If you don't kill him, you have to trade a minion with Ragnaros at the final second when you could have just sapped it. So
Lifecoach would have stayed alive if he did innervate hero power though, but that would potentially make his next turn much worse.
Yeah, and Lifecoach can't believe it, but we certainly can because we've been seeing that play for a while. Recognizing that if he didn't hero power with the innervate, that's what would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to say, you know. Again, innervate in the late stages of the game does lose a lot of value, but it still has value nonetheless. So maybe Lifecoach felt like it was better than just hero powering, and that 1 damage ended up mattering. I mean, even on stuff like Zalae attacking with his Wicked Knife, every single time he's able to do it, exacties.
Yeah. All right. Well,
next draw for the win.
That's a big win for Zalae. I feel he's got a win with the Rogue. I don't even think he was playing Miracle Rogue, so it probably wouldn't have fared the best against the Priest. And now he's got what are some of the best decks in the tournament: aggro Shaman and mid-range Druid.
Definitely. Aggro Shaman against the Priest is still... I don't think it's changed much. Before, when Aggro Shaman was first catching on in popularity, people widely considered Aggro Shaman to be heavily favored against the Priest because cards like Totem Golem and the Tonotrog don't get answered very easily. But perhaps, we did see Shadow Word Pain entice his list. That could be one of the key cards along with things like Farseer to fight early on for the board. who knows? I might give the early game board control to the priest to let them run away with the game.
Northshire is a huge factor, that's for sure.
Just having anything turn 1, especially when you're not running chows anymore, feels like it's a pretty big deal.
Is someone injured?
All right. Well, that's the Nefarian we keep seeing, but I feel like almost every time we see it, it's in a deck in the G2 team or possibly Kibler.
Kibler does like Nefarian a lot.
Yeah, Nefarian does seem to work. We see the Elemental Destruction in Zalae's deck. We haven't seen that in every Shaman deck, but the few times that we have, I think it's been a pretty good card. I've been pretty happy with what I've seen so far. I think this turn, the Northshire just has to be dealt with. Otherwise, it's just going to start killing your minions pretty brutally.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm not too opposed to using Rockbiter here. Your deck is not going to run out of damage to kill the priest. You know, even though you might feel like this Rockbiter has a lot of value later on, Northshire Cleric, though, especially if you anticipate Dragon Priest coming out of Lifecoach, because you know G2's been bringing Dragon Priest, I would assume that that's the most important thing. I mean, Zalae's got a list that feels reminiscent of Amnesiac's list as well. I mean, the Elemental Destruction feels like a callback to it. But it looks like he's running out of time. He's going to pass. Oh, he's roping.
Well, the rope does mean that next turn he'll have to act very quickly.
Yeah, and we see his cam, so it doesn't seem like he disconnected this time around, which would be unfortunate if we had to issue another game loss. We'll see in a second. Lifecoach looks like he's not even thinking about the game right now. Hopefully everything is okay. I think it's okay right now. He's analyzing his play, but really Lifecoach has nothing to do. Think about where he wants to heal, if he wants to heal, how long he should wait. Thinking about what kind of hairstyles he wants to don next month, etc.
Oh, God. Well, he can heal the shaman if he wants. Yeah, it's possible.
That would be poor sequencing. And Zalae,
okay, this is a little weird here.
Probably disconnected. Probably.
Maybe
so, okay, so first of all...
I've seen the strategy on ladder. This is what's going on. He's pretending like he disconnected, and then his opponent plays all the stuff as fast as possible without considering anything. And then Elemental Destruction!
I like it. The bamboozle play.
Yes. It does actually work a bit. I've seen it as a viable strategy against Patron Warrior. When you have, no chance against Patron Warrior, you just let them, curve out Patron on turn 5 while you pretend you're DC'd, and then you just kill it with a regular board clear and proceed to win the game. Yeah, super advanced.
I've seen that 0 times, but... I've seen that 0 times work. I've definitely seen people try it. Because the thing about it is that Zalae gets less time every single turn that ropes out. As you keep roping, it gets more aggressive.
Okay.
Wait, he's back in the game.
I don't know.
Well, here's a real big problem too, is that Priest actually had a reasonable early game with Farseer and Technician and dragons that actually can activate. And Shaman had an okay-ish early game, so it's a pretty significant impact on Lifecoach, who's still really taking his time thinking about it. And I mean, based off the way Zalae and Lifecoach are proceeding, it might seem like we're just gonna play this one out.
Possibly.
Which may lead us to seeing an Elemental Destruction like you predicted, which doesn't even kill the board.
I think you gotta wait another turn. If you're committed to faking a DC, you gotta stay more committed. Pass another one. No.
He's got it. The Doom Hammer.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't want to call this one over because Elemental Destruction can do some really funny things. But it's pretty hard to come back from this spot. Actually, no, if he overcommits to the board,
Yeah, you could
he might
lose.
Elemental Destruction and clear it, and the play is complete. The sting operation has actually went through. This would be one of the biggest coups in Hearthstone history.
What's the worst that could happen here? Probably Pyromancer and the heal.
Maybe he doesn't play anything.
He could play nothing, but I think that's unlikely. He's not actually threatening that much damage right now.
7 damage. Yeah, it's not a 2-turn. Oh, yeah. If he plays Blackwing Corruptor, he'll have 12. His opponent will be at 14, so it's like kind of reasonable. Lifecoach, what are you gonna do? He's gonna pass. Oh
Wow.
my. And Zalae picks up the combo, but he's not being able to Lava Shock with the Elemental Destruction, but unfortunately it's the wrong order. He would have to Lava Shock first. Because he only has 3 available to him right now.
It's not going to work too well. I think you might as well just hit up the Elemental Destruction and pass next turn, but I don't see how you'd ever win the game with that line of play.
Yeah, you're overloaded for 5, giving you 1 mana the following turn. If you use a charger, it doesn't do anything, doesn't get past.
I think you just got Elemental Destruction and hope for the best.
Maybe you... You can Rock Biter and Lava Shock and then play Totem Golem. Clear the board of the 3/6 to 3/5 and then have the 3/4 to contest a 1/3.
Or not.
Or do nothing. The follow-up Bamboozle. This is like, okay, Lifecoach is like, okay, he's DC'd again.
You're never supposed to go. You're never supposed to go full Bamboozle.
I want to see it, Crip, just one time.
I think Lifecoach is the wrong customer for this play.
Oh yeah, you have to make sure you know your audience, right? When you're gonna put on a show like this.
Yeah.
And Lifecoach is definitely not the guy who, like, he would think so hard about ways he can lose that he would definitely do, like, especially now that he has 10 damage onto the face left and he has 7 with the Blackwing Corruptor. I think he'll definitely probably hold here. Like, in the worst case scenario that he loses his entire board, he doesn't want to be in an awkward spot to not finish the game.
I think he has enough cards to finish the game. I think you might as well play a Blackwing Corruptor here. I like this play. Even knowing he has Elemental Destruction, I think this is a good play. So Oh, yeah, here we go!
Yeah, it is the next level plays! He got the 5! Lava Shock and go. Let's go, baby.
You like the Lava Shock? Maybe you have to Lava Shock.
You have too many cards.
Don't worry, loves. The cavalry's here.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
He's gonna
Lava
Lava
Shock
Shock
next
next turn
turn.
because he has enough to do it. That's fine.
Okay.
Crip, it's happening. I'm telling you.
Alright. I think it's probably best to leave the Blackwing Corruptor last.
Do you think from the beginning this has been premeditated? Because, I mean, very quickly we saw Zalae's cam. Then he was not internet disconnected.
I think what I would do is Shadow Word Pain and then Pyromancer afterwards into Farseer. Just to kind of disguise lethal a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. That because you just need 4 damage onto the onto the face with the Blackwing Corruptor.
Well, maybe you can consider
Okay. Maybe he just wants to get in the most board presence. Lifecoach is being super cautious because now he's like, okay, clearly he's He's definitely up to some shenanigans here. This would be one of the coolest next level plays from start to finish. If Zalae intentionally planned like, okay, I have Elemental Destruction, he had Northshire Cleric, I'm going to try to get as much mileage out of the Doomhammer as I can and conserve all my cards, make it think that I'm just not doing anything, and try to really go for this super secret Mission Impossible thing, man. Oh my god.
It could happen. I mean, he has the clear here. He maintains board control. Zalae could actually win this game.
He's got, how much damage does he have? He's got 210 with the Rockbiter Doomhammer. And then Lightning Bolt is 15. So he's still some change away. He's got Wolf Rider, so he's gonna have to definitely.
He's gonna Wolf Rider Abusive Sergeant for sure here.
And then
you can also Rockbiter if he wants to just hit for 10 now. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah,
it's mana efficiency.
This is not hitting any minions, right? Doomhammer's always just gonna be going phase. Okay. Takes it a little bit slow. He might want to use Rockbiter on a minion to get past stuff. That's also a possibility.
I see. Oh, that's a good card. You can just
Bronzebeard.
Yeah, heal yourself for 6.
And then Shadow Word Pain.
Yeah. Oh, because Bran effect.
You get 4 spells from the Nefarian Crypt. That is
wow.
That is doubling your chances to potentially draw into lethal against Shaman. Or, you know what I want to see? Let's see Healing Wave. Because then we get like 28 heal if you got 2 Healing Waves or something. That'd be so funny. Because you can get multiple copies of spells from the Nefarian.
Absolutely.
I wonder.
And then this game would be, you know, it would be just completely meme-tastic. I would love it. Please, for the love of God. Let the Nefarian come down.
It's gonna be like quad totemic might. That's what it's called. Yep.
Aww. I have a feeling Bran Bronzebeard's gonna die. No.
Really? I have a sneaky suspicion that he won't.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's too dangerous to let him live. But I mean, at this stage, you just really have to figure out ways.
Yeah.
Most likely, he's going to need a second Doomhammer to win too. At this rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lightning Bolt, and then probably Abusive Sergeant to kill the Bran. I was going to try to go for the Lightning Bolt again. No. I guess it's Abusive and Totem Golem then.
Yeah, Totem Golem's pretty reasonable damage onto the board as well, and it's resilient against a lot of what the priest can do.
Oh, maybe he's thinking about Doomhammer, because at 5 you're still pretty safe, and you can start to load up the board if he does Rockbiter and plays the Totem Golem instead of sacrificing the Abusive Sergeant.
So do you Nefarian or do you Shadow Word Pain and take it slow? I think it depends on your next draw.
Taking it slow. What are you talking about? Oh, Nefarian, dude.
Yeah,
Definitely
Nefarian for the Lava Burst finish? It has to be next turn, and maybe he's wondering if he can die.
Wait. Oh, I think he might be dead. Hold on. It's 10 plus the 7. He's actually dead. He has Zalae has exact lethal.
If he plays Nefarian!
If he plays Nefarian, he will lose unless he gets Ancestral Healing.
Oh, you're right. He can taunt that. It's a 0 mana. I thought you were Ancestral Healing. For some reason, I confused it with Ancestral Knowledge. It's a 0 mana, restore a minion to full health and give it taunt. Yep. It's a spell that he can play on Nefarian. He has to put Zalae exactly on these cards, though. If he's gonna take it very slow, he's gonna Shadow Word Pain, Holy Smite, heal himself.
He's gonna Nefarian with like nothing left on the rope, get Ancestral Healing, and then rope out.
No, he's doing the safe play.
Okay.
All right, so we don't get a Lifecoach reaction gift just yet, but Zalae is still very much in this. Priest is down to 1 card.
Yeah.
And he's certainly going to kill off this Northshire Cleric so that Priest can't get any more cards. Oh, okay. We didn't count for overload, by the way.
It didn't need to.
You can't
was
like
good enough.
draw cards off the Finley and then like play a bunch of stuff. So he could have played his whole hand, but that was some really awesome planning from Zalae. He would have had exact mana, exact lethal if his opponent played like Ysera or
He
Nefarian.
can double hero power with Finley. I think that's the play. I think the play is to get a totem, Finley, and try to get a hero power that interacts with the board.
Or even just damage. That wouldn't be bad either.
Hunter.
Well, Hunter hero power is pretty good. Shapeshift is convenient for allowing you to kill the cleric, but that's about it. And it's only good with the Doom Hammer. Hunter is just
Valley of the Rock Fighter. I
true.
think I'm in the dude.
Oh, you find out the priest? Oh man, this is so cool. I'm loving it the more I see it.
All right. Nefarian, let's see it. Oh wow, that's pretty good. But Nefarian could have gotten like a lightning bolt. That may have been preferable to play.
Let's see it. 2 spells.
Totem Advice! Completely worthless. Oh, whoa! The ancestral knowledge can actually gain lethal here.
At
Like a
19 damage.
Rockbiter would be it. Oh, it is it! That's it!
He's
It has to be it. It's 16. 16 plus 4 plus 5.
do it though.
Yeah. That's lethal.
God, I can't believe it. Christopher Nolan should use this game as the next movie, and I would watch the crap out of it. I'd pay real money for the first time in a long time to watch that film in IMAX 3D.
Oh my god.
Ship it. Lifecoach can't believe it. How has this happened to him so many times?
I mean, see, no. It's just part of the new way you play Shaman. The way you play Shaman is actually by not playing anything as an aggro Shaman for the first 5 turns, and then you just win the game. That's how you play the deck. Zalae just knows what he's doing.
Chat's gonna feel really stupid in about 10 minutes. In about 10 minutes. That was awesome. I don't care what anyone says. That game was great. I'm gonna remember that one for a long time.
You see, the strategy works. You get your opponent to overcommit a little bit.
Must be preserved.
Oh my god. And here's the really funny thing. Did Lifecoach play that perfectly? I mean, he did overextend to the board 1 turn, right?
Again, I don't feel that was a misplay. I feel that's just what you do. I mean, we saw the elemental destruction. Surely Lifecoach is playing around it as he was the previous turn. You just don't think you could actually lose. Like, even if he has an elemental destruction, his life total is just so low that it shouldn't have mattered. But somehow it did.
Man.
It's going to be a druid mirror here.
You know what's going to be the worst part about this for Zalae is that he has to like contain his excitement for just what happened. For them like realize he's up 2-0 instead of tied 1-1 potentially, and then just like have to settle down and focus and not spoil it, man, because that was such a cool game. Lifecoach, meanwhile, he's just going to rebound immediately back, play this druid. He's got the wild growth and the innervate, but you know, his opponent also has the wild growth, so this game is far from guaranteed.
I don't believe those living roots are going to do 10 damage in this game, though.
Oh,
No,
now
you
the
could-
debate. What do you actually do?
Coin the wild growth and innervate a Druid of the Claw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess because you just want to get that guaranteed crystal, hit that strong minion. Farseer can get easily wrecked. 2 wild growths. The second one is something to do. At least he's not passing on turn 3.
Yeah.
Innervate Drew the Claw.
Yeah, you have to do the Druid of the Claw. It's so good with the follow-up on the Farseer that heals the damage that it takes from trading into something, because realistically there's going to be very few answers that the opposing Druid player would have to do an additional 4 damage. It's going to come from like Savage Roar, a Swipe, or a full turn Wrath. That's about it. most often you choose to just play a minion instead.
This, yeah, I mean, I don't really like playing super slow with the Innervate with Farseer and then, like, keeping it for Ancient of Lore. I think, like you said, you know that the best 4-mana minions that your opponent runs are the Savage Combatant, and that gives you ability to Wrath it down. So, I like that a lot. And, you know, Zalae's in kind of an awkward spot here. The Keeper of the Grove doesn't have a high impact at all. Druid the Claws eat those things 3 times over.
Well, Zalae's thinking about it, which means that he might do the 2 damage with the Keeper play, which is going to get completely wrecked.
So, I guess you just pass, right? Oh, he's going to trade it in. Yeah, like you said, just cashing it in. And that gives an opportunity for Farseer to have some really big impact. My God.
Huge.
Big time value.
He might be thinking about Wrath and Hero Power and to Farseer the next turn, but I don't really like that too much. I think it's probably better to just have more minions on the board for the potential of you needing Savage Roar.
Yeah, it makes sense as well. I don't know. I think this play is pretty straightforward as well. I think maybe he's thinking about mana efficiency, but I like Wrath cycling this matchup. I don't really want to use it for 3 damage unless it's just like a huge tempo swing of killing off something that you really need to snipe behind like a taunt.
I feel like Farseer is so good in this deck, it might just be better than Shade.
It used to be a card that people would include in some Druid decks, even when combo was first starting to become popular. It just felt like Shade was more of what Druid wanted to do in terms of the early game ramps, and honestly, it's just kind of like a stylistic thing too, because you feel like Farseer is just better against the aggro stuff, but in the late stage of the game. Farseer even still has application too. Shade sometimes late stage of the game is just like a 3/3 anyways, right?
Yeah.
Or guarantee for a combo to hit.
Yes, Pyron's a very good draw here. It propels him to 7 mana and puts something on the board. 7 mana is going to allow him to Ancient of Lore unless something happens to his Aspirant. It doesn't seem like something will happen to it. It's going to be an Azure Drake, and he's going to have to draw a Wrath or a... Oh, that card.
Oh, not bad. Sniping it so that he denies a 7 mana play. That's
very,
huge.
very good. Yeah, it is a very big deal.
Not the biggest end in the world though, because you still have some plays. Or do you? What happened? Oh, Lifecoach is catching up on his POV.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have. I think you want to cycle, right? Maybe you feel comfortable with just the 1/1s though, because you have Savage Roar. Because if you Wrath for 3, Hero Power down the Azure Drake, and then play the 1/1s, you might reasonably have some good pressure onto the board. As opposed to like Wrathing for 1, not picking up anything, and then having to like Living Roots it.
Yeah, I like the Wrath for 3. Wrath for 3, set up a bigger board, you saturate 5 mana, you have the option of Savage Roar or Ancient of Lore.
Yeah, again, one of those things where you have to think, is it enough tempo to game to Wrathing for 3, and that ends up being the case here. So, with Living Roots and the Farseer, that is 13 damage represented with a Savage Roar, 21 with a second Savage Roar. Still not enough. So I feel like Zalae is still in pretty good spot here.
Yep, and the Druid Claws is a pretty decent play here. Usually with taunts, you want to play them after another minion has taken some damage, but that's just not going to fly here because the Harrison is just too weak.
Yeah, Harrison is vulnerable to the 4 attack on board, which will most likely stay, and then Force of Nature is not really even a question here. Too inefficient. And the board's not threatening enough to warrant it.
Taking his time, though. But it definitely seems like the Druid Claw is going to come down.
Ancient of Lore, pretty huge though. Still has an opportunity to refill the hand, so then it becomes a threat of whatever he draws to potentially end the game. He just needs this, the Force of Nature, and then from that point on, fight for the board position.
I think there's a good chance that if Zalae blanks out, he's going to, he's going to play his own Force of Nature to try to start clearing this board.
Gotcha. Force of Nature to kill the 5/5, and then Mounted Raptor, I guess.
It is a bit weak, though.
It is weak, and there's still no like clear end in sight of how you win the game, because you have to have your board hit 3 more times. And that's very optimistic to say the least. So
That belongs in
yeah, maybe he just loads up the board here. Says, all right, I'll just try to see if I can draw Savage Roar, end this.
Well, with 2 Savage Roars, he has Lifecoach has a lot of damage here himself. But I think it's probably best to just taunt up.
5, 8, 9 plus 16 is 25, but your opponent's at 29 effective health, so you're definitely off. Ancient of War, pretty strong. Drew the Claw.
It's a little bit more than that, because it doesn't really match up very well. I think the Drew of the Claw Savage Roar might actually be more damage because it matches up better. It would be 8 plus 9, it'd be 17 face. You'd put him at 6.
You can also just Drew the Claw and then play Farseer, like bump into the 4/6.
Yeah,
6 damage and Farseer.
that's a really good value play. I like that a lot. Drew the Claw taunt. 5/5 and 1/1 into the opponent's Drew the Claw, and Farseer again, saving the day.
I wonder if Zalae has a mind control tech, a pocket MCT to swing the board here.
That's pretty good.
Not bad. Is that enough?
No, it's not enough, but it's close. He can lose exactly 6, so it's exact damage here on the taunt HP pool. So it's a 14 plus the 8 plus the 2 against 28. No, that's 4 short then. 4 short. But that probably will mean that there might be a board clear happening here.
Yeah, he has to, because there's too much threat of what your opponent can do. He's coming up on 9 mana, and if he keeps like any reasonable sized minion to stick, he could put you in a really awkward spot health wise. And the quality of your minions isn't too bad if you end up combo clearing. Yeah, I think it's pretty reasonable.
Okay, he's gonna take a little bit of damage just to put out the most damage possible. And I think with no cards, this is absolutely the play to make.
Even kills off the Farseer for just to be super safe, and look, that would have been the game.
Wow.
But Ancient of War now is going to absolutely dominate this board.
Yeah, now Ancient of Lore is going to have to be cleared in order for Zalae to stay into this, and that's going to be difficult to do. That's going to be really difficult to do.
If he picks up Keeper of the Grove, though,
no. That's it.
The
I think
case
his best...
against the Darnassus Aspirant has just been closed.
I think his best bet was probably an Ancient of Lore into a Savage Roar, and then just Savage Roar the Ancient of War down.
Yeah, sure, but that's gonna wrap it up. Lifecoach climbs back into the series, 2-1, getting an important win with the Druid, but still has to win with the Priest and the Warrior.
He's got to do that against Zalae's Druid, which is a really big factor. Druid has been the deck of the tournament. It's crushed almost every single warrior it's played against. Maybe actually it's crushed every warrior it's played against. I'm not too sure in what circumstance the Warriors have won games so far, but they have not done very well. Against Priest, though, it could happen. I feel like Priest is not bad against Druid just because it has such big threats. They're kind of playing the same game, and if the Priest gets a little bit ahead, it can just pad its HP with its hero power constantly.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility, and we've seen it actually happen in different degrees over the past couple days here. But we're coming down to the wire here. Needs to turn it around once again. Lifecoach is on a must-win situation. Druid's been starting with Wild Growth, or Living Roots, or Ramp pretty often. The decks gain a ton of consistency, and for good reason. It just needs that early game consistency. Otherwise, it falls really far behind. So with the opening hand,
yeah.
I would consider keeping Shadow Word Pain because you know your opponent's running aspirants. Would you keep any of these 3 drops because you really want something proactive early on, like maybe turns 1 and 2?
I kind of like the Shadow Word Pain. You know he's running aspirants. You know you have to deal with it somehow. Like now you kind of get crushed by an aspirant.
Job's done.
Yeah, well, assuming your opponent has it. In this case, Lifecoach doesn't have the aspirant, but he's got turn 2 Wild Growth into turn 3 Coin 5 drop, turn 4 5 drop. So that sounds pretty reasonable. And always that awkward moment. No dragon, Wormrest Agent becomes much weaker, and you can't even redeem it with a Valence Chosen because it doesn't exist in this format.
Yeah. It's a pretty big weakness. I mean,
Wow.
1 attack just doesn't really do anything against Druid minions.
It challenges the Living Roots. That's about it.
Well, it's going to become Drew of the Claw food here pretty soon, I believe.
Oh, well, there's the dragon. Just a turn too late, but it's okay. Now there's a reasonable amount of power on the board, and yeah, that Lifecoach has the board for now, which is the most important thing as the priest player that you're always looking for.
What is it going to be, though? It's probably going to be the Drew of the Claw and Taunt with a coin.
Yeah. Again, you're not really afraid of Valence Chosen, right?
Right. The Farseer is actually the superhero yet again, though. Look at that. The Farseer can heal the 3/5 out of range of any bad stuff, and now with the Northshire draw, he can draw an extra card off of it. And now that Northshire is probably the biggest threat, there's some chance that the Drew of the Claw might attack it. You might even get a good Holy Nova the following turn.
Ooh, I like that. You know, the Holy Nova follow-up with 7 power on board almost guarantees you to kill anything, even that your opponent can innervate. You know, a couple of other tools that, you know, Dragon Priest lost that we haven't mentioned. Shrinkmeister, for example. That's a card that we're looking for, especially in combination with cards like Shadow Word Pain. It's against classes like Druid, which Shrinkmeister is super good against because you can grab tempo really fast. But I like this play that you suggested. It's a very good line because it just gives you so much insurance, and it gives you pretty strong turn 5, where generally Holy Nova is not very good against the Druid.
Okay. Ooh, the Drake. So you have to Drake, I guess. Can you consider an Innervate Force of Nature? Not really.
Innervate Force. I think you give up too much by doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe Drake Innervate Wrath and then control the state of the board a little bit.
I like the Drake Innervate Wrath. You definitely want to kill that Northshire. You can Wrath a 3/4, and your board is not challenged. Like you're ahead on the board, so generally you're happy when that happens. The Holy Nova isn't even going to be that great. We probably won't even see it. I think.
Right, we might see Holy Smite or Power Shield plays.
Yeah. All right.
So we're still looking for a dragon. A dragon pickup could be pretty convenient here.
And he can get 2 draws at it if he wishes. Oh, he gets one anyway. Yeah, so this is a very easy Holy Smite Twilight Guardian, I believe.
Yeah, it's a board clear, and you're starting to put out some. You have the 3/6, which is pretty imposing, given that whatever Druid puts out is usually 5/5 or worse.
I'm not even sure he will trade, because even playing around a Swipe, Swipe has the spell damage and it can kill the 3/6 dragon. he can't deal with the other 2 minions, which then trade for the Drake. So in the worst case of your opponent having a swipe, you're still ahead on the board because you play into an empty board on turn 6. So I actually don't think you need to kill the Drake.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I like that when you analyze it like that. It's not really too much of a threat. They used Wrath already as well. And you keep a reasonable, healthy board. Wormest Agent still being useless as usual, but the convenient thing is because it doesn't have taunt, it won't die to like the Azure Drake.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, over in Zalae's camp, still in a pretty awkward situation here.
Yeah, you're gonna probably want to get the combo as fast as possible, but I don't know how this is gonna fly.
So you can Wild Growth, Aspirant, and then Living Roots to kill off the Earthly Frontier. That seems pretty weak because the 2/3 is extremely vulnerable to the Twilight Guardian, which most likely won't do anything. But then, we also know there's a Holy Nova backup. So the Holy Nova is going to wreck the board really hard.
Yeah.
The alternative is to use some of his spells for clearing.
And there's no clear. You can only come out even. I think every play you can't actually beat the board. I think because of that, you just play everything out, hope for the best, and then try to combo next turn.
If you can, but he doesn't even play the Aspirant just because he's really afraid of what can happen, and ends up being the right call. 2 Holy Novas in the deck. I wonder if that's one of the differences, because I know Holy Novas are always controversial in priest lists. Sometimes they feel like it's not good to run it, but you don't have as much AoE access, so perhaps because in this format you don't have Light Bomb and other things like that, you run 2 Holy Novas.
Yeah, without Light Bomb, it's a bit of an issue. Here, Holy Nova kind of sucks, but if you don't play Holy Nova, you're still not playing much else. I think it's probably worth it to Holy Nova just because it's such a weak card otherwise.
Yeah, if you kill the Drake, well, you can also kill the Drake and then play one of the Twilight Whelps.
Yeah.
Slightly improve your board damage, and then the Twilight Guardian's still at a reasonable 3/5. If he's planning on killing, he should probably tap into it first, unless he's not going to trade and just going to go face. Oh, okay.
Face is the place.
Even the priest, he's learned his ways.
All right, well, it looks like it's going to work for now. Zalae again struggling to get any big threats on the board. This Twilight Guardian is just doing a really good job of stopping any great plays he might try to play. Like, you can't Force Nature now, you can't Savage Roar now. You just got to play your small minions and hope for the best yet again. Zalae just has no control over this game. He's just playing Lifecoach's game.
Yeah, Lifecoach is just because he has the board, and the moment you can strip the board away from the priest, then I mean, imagine if there's just like a 1/4. There's really nothing else priest can do with just these weak minions. So Zalae has to figure out, if possible, another way for him to get past it without having to commit something like Savage Roar. Because Savage Roar right now is his only way to get past this miniature, this miniature big taunt here.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good Holy Nova yet again. There is some decision making here. So the 1/4 hitting the 2/3 before the Nova is always a good idea, but you can also hit the 3/2 before the Holy Nova. There's so few 1-drops that survive the 2 damage from the Nova, and I think on average it's the best way to clear. But at the same time, we've seen that Lifecoach is really interested in doing as much face damage as possible. So I would think he's going to continue his strategy.
Yeah, plus he might take less damage on the Drake this way because he can heal up afterwards. So we'll see what comes out. Usually the worst case is Cabaldir Raider. Oops, I'm making the same mistake now. The injured Cabaldir.
That's actually a pretty bad case. If he gets like a flip spare part, it could severely impact the value from the Twilight Guardian.
Yeah, the reversing switch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
There's a
my
silence.
goodness. Not bad.
Not bad, but man, that priest is at 30. It's a really long way for the druid to win this game. The main weakness that I've seen so far from Zalae's games here is that he's just not drawing that Ancient of Lore. He's never at a card advantage, and it's just he has to really like milk everything for as much value as possible. That's so hard to do.
Well, his hope is that priest is just holding situational response and reactive cards. And, you know, from there, he can start climbing back with actual minions. But, I mean, we know Lifecoach still has yet to hit some of his biggest minions. He only has 8 mana, so he can't play a 9er yet, but he still has the Twilight Guardian. Or that.
That's pretty good.
Blackwing Corruptor is great. Definitely want to play that so you can get the benefit of his Battle Cry. And keep chugging along. Right now, you might even draw into lethal if you pick up another Blackwing Corruptor.
Let's see if Zalae gets anything. He does. Wow.
Big time draw.
That is a huge draw. We have to wonder how we're going to make use of this attack spare part, though. Like, you have to assume that there might be an entomb here. I'm thinking the attack spare part might be decent to play around another Power Word Shield, perhaps.
Oh yeah, or it depends on like if he has any other attack minions he wants to get out of Shadow Word Pain range. Well, let's see. I mean, there's not too much to evaluate. I think you have to play the Ancient of War for the best opportunity to climb back onto the board.
Yeah.
And there's no real debate. You have to play it rooted, unfortunately. Love to see him uproot one day, but this is not that time.
All right, he goes for the spare part. Just highest risk. That's what you got to do when you're behind like this.
Yep.
He's obviously looking for an entomb here.
Farseer isn't anything special here.
No, it's completely worthless.
Well, it does load up enough power to challenge the Ancient of War's health. So, because right now you have 7, and the 3 would add to it. Would you even play the Twilight Guardian? Is the taunt meaningful? And the plus attack? Kind of. But the 6 attack
really,
thing
it's
is
really
pretty
something to assess based on what you know is in your deck, which Lifecoach would have a much better idea than we do. He has to calculate how many dragons are in the deck, chance of drawing one, chance of actually being able to play it with a drawn dragon. Because even if you get a dragon, like let's say you get like Nefarian, then you have to play Nefarian. You can't play the Twilight Guardian first. You can't do that, right? So some of the dragons don't even work. It's actually very complicated.
Okay, so you see 10 power on the board, and he can't deal with it. Do you want to play Keeper so that way you can eliminate a minion off the board and keep your Ancient of War chugging?
I think
or would you want to just load up the board and then play everything?
I think you have to play the Keeper. Your Ancient of War is basically everything you got right now. You got to protect that. The real question is, do you want to start initiating trades against the priest that obviously has no answer for your Ancient of War, or do you want to start going through and pushing for some damage?
I think we go face. Priest doesn't have many buffs, which are super significant. You said Power with Shield being one of them, but that's probably the only one these days outside of the self Battle Cry buffs. So I like hitting face. Nefarian.
There it is.
Wait. Let's see it naturalize right now.
Wow, that would be lethal.
To redeem the previous Nefarian draws.
No, but those are really good cards, by the way.
Yeah. Still good damage. It's 7 damage? Or how much does Mark of Nature give as a plus attack? Is it plus 4 or plus 3? Plus 4, so that's 8. 8 burst if you have a minion.
Can you actually stay alive here?
Well, you
could. You'd have to kill the 5/4 with the Ancient of War.
Okay, and then
Or the Nefarian. You can kill the Nefarian
Yeah.
with the roots.
I was thinking about killing Nefarian and then killing the 2/3 and then playing Harrison. Because Priest still has to get through it, but that ends up killing you because the bite helps you get through the Ancient of War, and then
Oh,
the Nature gets the
right.
burst. So if he goes for this,
He
but I
has
mean,
to
how
kill
can
the
you
5/4.
play? How do you play around these things? Like, Druid has so many spells like Healing Touch and Innervate. Like, if you got Innervates, they're just as useless as anything else, right?
I mean, obviously Zalae can't be bothered to play around all these ridiculous cards. He's just loading the board, hoping for a top deck Savage Roar, and yeah, unfortunately, it's not happening. Looks like Lifecoach is going to have this one, pending some disastrous play here, but I don't imagine he's been playing perfectly so far.
Yep, and the Bite and Mark of Nature damage is just more than enough. He had 21 damage this turn. And some change. So, what a really fun series back and forth with some crazy stuff. And we're going to go Dragon Warrior versus Mid-Range Druid to see if we can once again validate the opinion of G2 and a few other players who brought Dragon Warrior. It hasn't had the most success, but it's definitely one of the more interesting decks brought to this event.
It is the version that is probably the version that Tice was playing. Tice is playing again those Earthen Ring Farseers everywhere, and all that extra healing, all that extra armor is going to mean that the Druid will have to battle it out for like a minion battle. It's going to be more difficult than otherwise to just go face and try to finish the game off that way. So, really, Zalae just has to draw Ancient Allures and stuff like that. I mean, I don't even know if we've seen one. So that might be a disaster if it's not in there. But I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I'd be willing to make a very strong bet that Ancient of Lore is in that deck. But more importantly, I think the Druid needs to just commandingly seize the board before the dragons can take over, or even the dragon co-conspirators, right? Because the Blackwing Corruptor is very good as well with Warrior. The big keys are like actually the 4 health minions, which seem to evade a lot of the removals.
Well, there's your late game. I guess we'll never see it again.
You'll see it soon. I'm sure as soon as you toss it away, it comes back the next turn. That's how it works.
It's really hard to seize the early game if the Warrior draws well, though. With the Fiery War Axe and a few of the other removals, I think the G2 Warrior has bashes and slams. So with all the health manipulation, your early game, you have to draw it, which is not that common for Druid. There isn't that much of it, but you also are at the mercy of the Warrior's answers, which can sometimes be merciless.
Yeah, no doubt. The Warrior's answers can be so efficient and super powerful if they can grab early tempo. Oh, and we also, we've been seeing Jessica Trueheart. Another, it's not necessarily a win condition, but just like the longer the game goes, when Justicar's been played, the less likely Drew's going to be able to finish the game as well. So, it's one of those things too. That's another opportunity for Warrior to get a win without necessarily having to directly kill the opponent. Varian Rin, by the way, has been pretty underwhelming. I feel like even though it's got some cool stuff, a lot of the benefits from your deck outside of the Fierce Monkey is just the battle cries. The Justic, like 4 out of the 5 cards that Varian could pull hypothetically in the hand right now they would have they'd be board presence, but they don't actually pull anything like of value for like.
It never really seems to work out the way you want it to. The Warrior still gets ahead on the board once again, though, and once again we see the Earthen Ring Farseer dominate the early game.
So clutch. It's unbelievable, actually.
It is unbelievable.
Like, how much this 3/3 heal for 3 is great. Almost to the point where, I think people might even be reevaluating if they want to play Farseer now, before Standard even comes out. I mean, there's a case for it for some of these things,
Yeah, there really is. Well, Lifecoach is really thinking about it. The other option is maybe to Bran. Just go face and Bran. It might let you play a super big Twilight Guardian next turn. Heal that. I mean, the Farseer has a lot of opportunities to get value throughout the game. It's just that I feel against the Druids, if you can stop them at the start, it's going to be very difficult for them to actually make a recovery.
Oh my god. Worst roll for Zalae, the Blood Imp.
I don't know if that's too bad. Having a little bit of extra health on the mid-range minions can be a pretty big deal.
It's true, but at the same time, Warrior has Execute, so it's one of the classes that sometimes doesn't really depend on that. Not to mention that if it was the average 2/1 one mana minion, it would have been able to get sniped by the Keep of the Grove, and now you have no option to do so otherwise. So this was definitely an uncomfortable spot.
I actually think the Blood Imp is okay because it's always gonna get value. Like, I don't think Warrior will ever kill that minion. I think the Blood Imp is eventually gonna deal at least 2 damage with a Savage Roar, and he's gonna pump some health. I think he's gonna do more than any like one drop would do. There's certainly a lot of those.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does have opportunities to be able to redeem itself, but that's just not going to be impactful for a while. Thankfully we did draw a dragon in Lifecoach's camp because he didn't have a dragon, and Twilight Guardian is just a lot weaker if it's a 2/6 compared to a 3/6 taunt. So I'm definitely feeling the Twilight Guardian right now, and you don't lose any dragons synergy with the Blackwing Corruptor the following turn. It feels like there is some merit to playing Bran Bronzebeard if you want to Blackwing Corruptor snipe whatever comes out for 5 mana.
I like that. Also, we could do Bran and Varian perhaps someday.
Pull 6 cards from your deck.
Yeah.
That's so sick. I didn't think about that. Oh my god, that's hilarious. It's just like you can't even fit that many. What happens if you pull minions and your board's too full?
Where shall I start?
Because you can pull up to 6 minions, but Bran and Varian is already 2, so you can put 5 max.
Well, I haven't played that card enough.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it, man. Blood Imp being a little bit annoying here.
Yeah, that 1 health helps a lot here. It literally just requires another 3 damage.
It requires that another 3 damage, you're right, but at the same time, it hasn't had a proactive board impact, so just kind of chilling. But you know what? Maybe you're right, because Druid's definitely the beatdown in this matchup, and therefore.
Oh no, he's got 4. He's got 4. I missed.
Oh,
this
you're
play.
right.
Oh,
good
sick.
observation. That's sick.
Double charge, double +1 attack.
Oh my god, great spot.
Excellent play by Lifecoach there.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where, again, you're not really accustomed to thinking about the battle cry giving the plus attack. You just think about the charge effect.
Oh, it's time. It's time. Force of nature, I believe.
Kill the Bran.
Sadly. Well, okay, if you don't do that, you can keep her in wild growth, but that puts you on 8 next turn. You're still a little bit away. Bran is just so
Force
scary.
of Nature is good, but that also gives like a clean Justicar Trueheart turn for the Warrior. And that might be the ticket for Lifecoach to come back in.
I do like the wild growth though. It feels like the Druid just needs to put out more pressure over the next few turns. And I think the wild growth, even though the play is worse on turn 6, I think it's going to lead to much better plays in the next 2 or maybe 3 turns.
Okay, so he goes for the wild growth. Now that you see this, though, maybe you feel like you want to play Blackwing Corruptor for 6 and kill off this 2/5. Although conveniently the stats on board.
I like to draw 2 cards, I think.
But then you lose the dragons. Okay, okay.
Oh no, you do lose the dragons. Okay, yeah, I missed that.
I mean, you have a high chance of drawing into it by the time you play it again. You have 3 cards deeper in your deck to potentially get a dragon. So maybe by the time you can do that, you can get away with drawing cards.
If you do play the Azure Drake, you get wrecked by swipe. It's probably not worth it. Probably the Corruptor is just the safest play. With the Corruptor, you have the high damage minion threatening, and you also have the Brand, just the presence of that being a very big deal on the board of this deck. So I think the safer play is to do the Corruptor.
We're 4 turns away from the Varian Rin Brand Bronzebeard dream. That's just the only thing I want to see, and then this series has it all. It has the crazy comebacks, the next level mind games, the wacky random effects with the spells and the Varian, and of course the unbelievable, unlikely wombo combos. That'd be so funny to me. Druid still stuck in a spot where you can't really remove, and I mean, it's also another thing that you have to be considering is that you're at 18 health and you're looking at 10 damage on board. You're not feeling the most safe. That Blimp is still just chilling there, not really doing anything. It's a Savage War target. That's what it is.
Huh. How do we make this work?
Let's see. If you lore, next turn you still have combo to clear stuff, so you can use all those treants to kill into minions. And assuming that the lore trades into like something else, you probably
Lore has 6 health too. We have to keep that in mind, right? It doesn't just die to the 5/4.
Yep. Fantastic point. So he plays this instead, keeping the lore. He might be using the lore defensively just to heal instead. Making it just like a worse Guardian of Kings, I guess.
I like the Drake here.
Yeah, Azure Drake draws you 2 cards. You can develop Armor Smith and trade into the Savage Combatant, get an armor to 30 health, get 2 cards.
Doesn't really help. I think the Brand is more valuable than the damage.
Well, I wanna trade here with the 5/4, play the Armor Smith.
Yeah.
And then go face. I think you could have represented lethal if you went face with everything, but it's just better to play a little bit slower. And now I think you have to force a Nature Savage Roar to clear things. Maybe not. It's like the board's not as intimidating as you think it was. So maybe you can even like.
Yeah, the Druid of the Claw charge into the 2/4 seems to work. It's just that not playing anything else with that feels like you're just going to have to combo next turn to catch up.
Right.
So I feel like the plays are either draw or combo clear, and combo clear next turn.
Is there still an opportunity to lore?
That's what I mean, lore to draw.
Oh, okay. Oops. Yeah, lore to draw seems to give you an option. You still have cards you can pick up that would be really useful.
Not that one.
But Azure Drake might be useful if he picks up another spell that can synergize with it. Meanwhile, Bran lives yet another turn. And
looks like he's gonna have a long life. I mean, I don't think he's going down right now either.
Yeah, interesting dynamic too is that Shield Slam is gonna get buffed by 1 damage as well. So I'm trying to see if there's like a cool way to remove cleanly and play stuff, but it looks like you can't do that. And you want to keep Armor Smith alive too. The more armor you gain, the higher chance for victory.
I think you just need to use your weapon.
Okay, use your weapon. Okay, Azure Drake as well. Slam for 4. Dang.
Oh, bash for 5.
Wait. Can you slam and then shield slam the Ancient of Lore? If you have 0...
Oh, yeah, you can. Slam for 4 and then shield slam for 2.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, he's doing it.
I think he's not sure about the interaction. Oh, wait, he doesn't have enough time to attack. Uh-oh.
Attack's optional. Controlling the board is how you play the game.
Oh, he got
did
one
miss
attack
3
in.
damage.
Okay, he got the most important attack, which is the 4.
Mm-hmm.
But he missed the 3 damage, giving probably. I mean, now do you combo clear?
Yeah, now you combo clear. Yes, definitely.
It feels like that's the way, and you know what makes it feel really bad is not only are you losing your damage, but you're also giving your opponent armor.
Yeah,
is it
does feel pretty
negotiable at
bad,
all
but
to leave the armor smith up?
I think you just have to leave it up. The brand has been so insane.
Yeah, it wouldn't have drawn like those cards to remove that efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
He would be drawing Emperor Thorsan next turn, basically, or maybe just Bash.
I feel like the Druid can win just the control game because it has Harrison, it has the Azure Drake, it has some high quality minions, it has the wild growth. I think this might be a game that goes to fatigue, honestly.
It could be, but Druid already used 1 Force Nature, 1 Savage Roar, and if Justicar True Art comes down, there's a real chance that you need 2 Savage Roars to finish the game in 1 turn. Because now it's like you drop Emperor Thorsan or you drop Justicar, and neither is really wrong here, and you're just in such a good spot.
Well, that Blood Imp does end up taking out the Armor Smith.
Yeah, better late than never. Doing something. I think Emperor Thorsan is okay, just because your opponent used combo, you're feeling really safe, and then you have Varian Rin with the Fiery War Axe next turn.
Yeah.
You can even equip War Axe now if you feel like really gung-ho about it, which conveniently gives Druid Harrison Jones value.
Yeah, I think he's thinking about that, though. Like, if he gets Harrison Jones, he just plays the other Fiery War Axe and kills him.
Yeah, that's also a good point. Assuming that the Emperor Thorsan survives.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the swipe with the Azure Drake available to Zalae, which, you know, we were talking about him being up at a 2-0 lead, and Lifecoach is about to reverse sweep him if he can close out this game.
I actually don't think there's any way that Lifecoach does not kill Zalae.
Well, he doesn't have a dragon for Blackwing Corruptor yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
He still has only
So if
6
he draws
damage.
a dragon, he
Right.
doesn't have any way.
Okay, so he disarms him first, and if he plays Druid of the Claw in taunt, we
Dragon
don't
Draw
have it
would do
just
it.
yet.
Oh, nope. It's 2 off lethal.
I think we can continue to take this a little bit slow. I don't think you need to really play Varian Rin here. You could probably get away playing Justicar and Fire War Axe and Armor Smith.
I
Plus,
like
it's
Varian.
also 10 mana.
I mean, the Druid's at 7, and you have 6 damage in hand. So, Varian is just so good.
It's true, but it's also like a reload of draws. You can play your entire hand and then like Varian Rin to redraw. Like a super Ancient of Lore.
I think Varian's a no-brainer. I think Varian War Axe killed the 4/6. You're threatening 6 damage. Any minion that stays alive, you win the game with next turn.
But what if he doesn't have? What if he just like big game hunters, then like plays another taunt? Oh, he goes a halfway play. Doesn't play Varian, plays Justicar, but so this way he doesn't die to like a big game hunter. I'm actually pretty happy about this play as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very good.
Good old Lifecoach finding what is probably the best play. Savage Roar number 2 doesn't save Zalae here, and I think he's just going through all the motions, really kind of processing and taking a deep sigh and realizing that this series, despite having one of the most cool and well-played games that I've seen all year long, is not going to tilt in his favor for the series. He's not going to win this best of 5. Or am I calling it too early, Crip?
I think you can wild growth into a Ancient of War and stay alive.
Ancient of Lore. Does that keep him alive?
No, it doesn't. I think that's game.
Time waits for no one.
One more check. You can swipe keeper. Nope. You still die to the Fiery War Axe. There's no Azure Drake draw that can save you. No, that's just going to be it. Hero Power into Justicar, and one of the most entertaining series that you'll see in 2016 has come to a close.
Full reverse sweep from Lifecoach. There we have
Long series, too, man. That one went distance.
Like a couple hours.
Yeah. Couple of hours, indeed. We started that at like 12. It's now 2:30 p.m.
Yeah.
But, Game 5 with Lifecoach with some crazy back and forth, the Shamans, the Nefarians, and finally, we were one turn away from Bran Bronzebeard and the variant.
The Dream. The six card variant.
Draw 6. Put a
Not
Divine
quite.
Favor and instantly play it.
But there is still hope. All the G2 team members seem to have this deck, so that combo is at any time going to be an option, I suppose. But yeah, I'm actually very surprised. I think Zalae is maybe the first player to whiff 3 times with Druid, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal because Druid is one of the more consistent decks, and it has definitely failed him. I didn't really see too many noticeable errors at all, really, from Zalae's lines of play. I definitely think Lifecoach made the best of his hands. So, the cool play, of course, being the Bran Bronzebeard, the synergies that he's able to line up with it. The way he set it up, so that way foundationally going forward, he would be very good position. Good stuff. And finally, Dragon Warrior gets some vindication, right?
A little bit.
A lot of people, I don't know who, were hating on the deck, saying that, it may not be that strong. And, I'm a little bit part of that as well. But some of these people said that it was one of the strongest decks they practiced. Eloise was saying that it was the deck that she had the most confidence in, and it went 0-6. So could be one of those things where maybe it's the combination of deck lists that G2 has figured out. Once again, showing why they are to be considered by many the top team in Hearthstone, at least as a collective group.